Hello, I am Michael Whitehouse, the guy who knows the guy and the host of the upcoming Power 5 podcast, and I'm here to tell you why there isn't a labor shortage and what's actually going on in the labor market. And to do that, we're going to get into some economics. Most people in this conversation I'm seeing talking about the labor shortage, clearly have never taken Econ 101 or completely forgot it after they did. So I'm going to give you that overview and then talk about how that applies to what's happening here and how the market is shifting. Short answer, what we see here is the free market in action. I'm a huge fan of the free market. I have a degree in economics. I've seen how it works. It can do awesome things, but for it to work properly, it needs a number of things, including proper information, which we'll talk about in a moment. But the free market is the supply and demand, which I'm going to explain in a moment, and that's what's happening. A lot of people think they know what free market is, and they have no idea, and then realize this is it in action. The free market goes both ways. So let's take a look at the graph. This is the fundamental picture of everything in microeconomics. Okay, supply curve, demand curve. What are these? Supply curve is getting the thing. Now this is for a labor market, this is for buying widgets, this is for PlayStations, this is for gasoline. Anything has a supply curve and a demand curve. Supply curve is made up of a bunch of dots. And the dot is how much it costs to make the thing and sell it. So the minimal amount someone's willing to sell it for. Now this over here, the dots are easy. So again, with the labor market, over here, this is some guy, they're just sitting around, they're not doing anything. They'll work for $2 an hour, $1 an hour. They don't care. They just want to get out of the house. All right. Over here, you got people, maybe they got a little more skills or they got other things to do. But on the supply curve, there is something called opportunity cost. Now, an opportunity cost is your highest value alternative. So if I'm not going to work this job, I could go over here and do this thing. All right, now over here, the opportunity cost is not other work. The opportunity cost is the other things you might do. For example, childcare. You're hearing a lot about that, right? So if you have a couple and one of the people in the couple, more often the wife, but sometimes the husband, if they go to work, if the second person goes back to work, it's going to cost them $500, $600, $700 a week to put the kids in childcare. Well, that means that the opportunity cost of staying home is negative $600, right? So the wages, you have to subtract that cost, and it could be childcare, it could be taking care of a elderly family member, it could be taking care of anyone. It could be other costs as well, putting gas in the car to get there, getting dressed, leaving the house, dealing with disability issues, dealing with psychological challenges, mental health challenges, all kinds of reasons why someone ends up over here. And the supply is expensive. Plus, of course, you have people who are just more qualified. Now, this is the unskilled labor market. There's no such thing as unskilled, but I'm looking at, we're talking about restaurants, hotels, all the places where there's supposedly a shortage. There's no shortage in middle management. We're not hearing about that at all. But this is in that market. But people have more skills, more experience, they want more as well. So a bunch of reasons why people end up over here. The demand curve is a series of dots of how much someone's willing to pay for, in this case, labor. So first employee, I would really need them. I'd pay $25 an hour for the first guy. Second guy, I don't need him quite as much. He'd help. Not quite so much though. Maybe I'm down here with him. I'd pay $15 an hour. Third guy, I'd pay $6 an hour. So obviously not going to hire someone to under minimum wage, but that's where it is. A great analogy for this, if you don't understand demand curve, is pizza. I'm assuming you like pizza. So let's imagine the demand curve for your personal demand curve for pizza. You're hungry, you're starving, it's been a long day, there's one piece of pizza there. You'd pay like $30 for that first piece of pizza. Boy, are you hungry for that first piece. The next piece, well, you'd pay $9. You're not that hungry anymore. Next piece, you'd pay $2. The next piece, you actually go negative. Someone would have to pay you $1 to eat the fourth piece. You're full. Negative utility at that point. You don't want that much more pizza. You are full, you've had too much. That's called the point of diminishing returns that you may have heard of before. So this is labor market. This is called equilibrium. This is where demand crosses supply. So this many people will work for this much money. I'll actually draw a line there so it's a little clearer. So this many people will work for this much money. All right. So what happened? What happened in the last year? A number of things hit the supply curve. All right, one of the factors, I don't think that's a huge factor, but a few 100,000 people died who were in the market. That made a difference. Also, you had the childcare issues. So that rose this end over here. And you had some other factors, which I'll get into once I have both curves drawn. So this is the new supply curve. You'll notice it's both higher and steeper, because over here is where you got your people who have childcare issues who didn't have them before. Maybe grandma used to take care of the kids. People are like, oh, well, a lot of people died of COVID. They're elderly. Well, maybe grandma used to take care of the kids, and grandma died of COVID. And now you need childcare. But there's a childcare shortage, so it's expensive and hard to get. Now you're over here. You were down here. Now you're over here. The other factor that I want to touch on briefly is an efficient market relies on good information. And a lot of people didn't realize what they were worth. So equilibrium would have been here. I probably should have touched on this before, but anyway, equilibrium would have been right here. But a lot of people on the supply curve didn't realize what they were worth, so they're actually working lower than they should have been, which means that they were maybe accepting jobs down here based on a lack of knowledge. They acquired more knowledge, so they took a break, they went home, they were able to pause and think, and they realized they shouldn't have been here. That alone moved the supply curve to where it actually should have been. Now, the other thing happened is demand side. A lot of the gig companies got their acts together. The internet got there. A lot of people started freelance businesses. A lot of people, DoorDash is now paid $24 an hour. DoorDash used to be like $14 an hour 3 years ago. DoorDash is up around $24 an hour. Uber's around $30 an hour. All these things you can do on your own without having to work for someone else. And some of these, like DoorDash, you can bring your kids along. So you don't have that daycare issue, which makes them much higher value. So then what happens, the demand curve did this. And again, higher and steeper, because over at this high end, you got all this gig work, you got people starting their own businesses, people who are making $15 an hour, suddenly making $15,000 a month. Not a lot, making that kind of jump, but some did. They're not going to go work for McDonald's down here anymore. They're up here now. So now your new equilibrium would be this many people at this many dollars. But the old demanders are still trying to be at the same rate. Maybe they're raising up a little bit. Maybe they're going up a bit. And they're trying to demand without recognizing that new players have entered the market. They're trying to pay over here, right? They're trying to pay at this rate. And, for example, I talked to a manager who said, these young kids, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what's going on. They come in, they expect to pay $23 an hour, and that's not what we're hiring for, so we're not hiring anyone. No. They know what's going on. $23 an hour is right here, roughly. These aren't exact numbers, the model. But, they're up here. He's trying to pay down here. And so the old line employers, ones that are in trouble, they're only getting this many people. Right here, that's your labor shortage. There's no shortage. But the businesses that are trying to hire at the old rates, that's what they're getting. They're short by this much. They're short by that much. Meanwhile, all these people, they're doing something else. They're working somewhere else, and they're making this additional money. So all this whole area in here, in economics we call worker surplus. So workers who are finding other things to do, making more money, they're taking that, they're capturing that. So there's no shortage. Shortages happen, by the way, if you want to see a shortage. Let me see, you can still rotate the camera a little bit, show you what a shortage looks like. A shortage is something caused by interference in the market. So, all right, see that? Hopefully we've got our equilibrium point, but we set a minimum or maximum price. This is what you see sometimes. This is why people say there'll be less jobs if you have minimum wage. It creates a job shortage. If you have rent control, it creates a shortage. So if you say that the prices have to be this. That's your price ceiling. The prices can't go higher than that. Then the suppliers are only going to produce that much. The demanders are going to produce that much, and boom, that's your shortage right there. We don't have that. We don't have that. That's not what's going on. What we have is a market shift. Free market. What everyone loves. I love it. I would not call myself a neocon conservative, but neocons, they're all about the free market, free market, free market. Right? They wouldn't know the free market would bit them in the butt. Okay? Health insurance, for example, not a free market. You don't have information, so you end up with this thing down here. People don't know what they're buying. It's a black box. It's a mystery. This, labor, is a free market. Gasoline, oil, free market. That's why gas prices are going up. Higher demand, lower supply. And what's happening is these people, by the way, you may be hearing about the shipping shortages, things like that. These people have more money to spend. So they want to buy more stuff. And they buy more stuff. And then the stuff comes from China because of what I might call greedy or at least short-sighted policies to stretch supply lines around the world and have just-in-time systems and all kinds of other things that were very bad long-term thinking. So they put more weight on the system, plus this same thing's happening, labor. That's who's unloading the boats. That's who's driving the trucks, still labor. And you still have these challenges. A lot of these shipping companies, they're not being reactive. They're not raising their wages because they think they can't. So you're getting a lot more demand, a lot more dollars chasing after fewer goods. That's the core of why we're seeing shipping backups. And that's why, by the way, if you're going to be shopping for Christmas, as I record this in late October, you should shop right now. Because if you wait what you want, if it's a rare thing or if it's an in-demand gift, there won't be any left in the stores. Supply lines are really backed up. Got nothing to do with this, but does all tie together. The economy, that's why economy and ecology have similar roots. It's the world. It all ties together. It all interacts. So this is what's happening. Not a shortage, just the free market doing its free market thing. And for once, it's doing it in favor of workers. And employers are like, what's going on? Because they're used to always having the upper hand in the market. And for once, they don't. Bummer, dude. Cuts both ways. That's the free market. Works for everyone. Doesn't always work for you the best right now. Got to adapt. And plenty of businesses are doing just fine. Plenty of businesses are great at all kinds of businesses. Hey, I got employees I need. We're great. We haven't even raised wages. Why? Not always dollars. The value, not always dollars. Sometimes it's work environment. Sometimes it's purpose. Growth opportunities. Why do people work for free in this market? People still have unpaid internships because the value is knowledge. The value is connections. The value is future earnings. So there's a lot going on there. If you like how I explained this, if you thought this was interesting, I'm going to be launching a podcast called the Power 5 Podcast, where I answer a question, hopefully from you, every single day in 5 minutes or less. This has been a bit longer than that, but I needed a graph and a lot to explain. Every day, 5 minutes or less. Go to guywhoknowsaguy.com/power5 to sign up to be part of the launch on November 1st. I'm going to be on Zoom live for 3 hours answering any of your questions that you have, so send them on in. guywhoknowsaguy.com/power5. I'm Michael Whitehouse, the guy who knows a guy. I hope you found this valuable. If you have any questions or other things you want me to address, put them down in the comments. I had fun making this video. I'd love to make another one. Thanks for watching.